The fingerprints of Adam Preston can be seen all over the city of Campbellsville, Kentucky. He attended Campbellsville University as a student-athlete, coached at Campbellsville High School, and has seen change over his years at Campbellsville University. The game of soccer was one of many he picked up as a kid.
You know, I started when I was 4 years old. My older brother, just a year older than me, we would play together and was trying to decide between football and soccer because we played baseball and basketball the other times of the year. My dad was a football player, and it was like, let's go out and try this out. Fell in love with it straight away and played from that time until now.
A native of Paducah, Kentucky, found himself out west and didn't see any opportunities to further his career.
You know, it's a funny story. From Western Kentucky, it's a little bit separated from everything. And honestly, when I finished playing my senior year of high school, I didn't think there was any opportunities for me. It wasn't like coaches were beating my door down. Had a friend, my best friend actually, Ryan Hook, whose brother played here at Campbellsville University, Ashley Hook. And you know, he was at one of our games, like, do you think maybe I could play? He's like, yeah, I think you'd have an opportunity. So we came up and tried out, and coach liked me and gave me an opportunity, and grateful for that.
An opportunity was presented, and mindset was key going into it.
I was so young and naive. You know, I see it from such a different perspective now, but it was just, this is what I love to do. This is who I've always been. Any opportunity to extend this, I'll take.
Things come and go. You can see a lot of change over a 4-year playing career.
It changed so much from year one until your senior year, and I know many are familiar with that. But when I got here, it's just all in. Every bit of myself, you know, naive to it all, just I wanted to do soccer. The academics were second and wanted to play and be my very best. Had some really great teammates at that time that helped to make the transition process easier. So it was just fully committed. And then as you work through the years, that changes. Your sophomore year, you have a little bit more perspective, and now you're seeing what it takes to win at a college season. My junior year, you know, starting to take a leadership role within the team, and that was an interesting transition is going into that, how to motivate others and how to lead by example, which was one of the big things for me and still is. And then in my junior year, in my second semester, I became a Christian, and that changed everything. My senior year, I was a captain and with a new coach, and the experience of trying to lead as a Christian, I failed at miserably. I'd always known how to motivate from a secular position, but now as a believer, everything I believed in had changed, and I didn't know how to navigate that properly. So I failed an awful lot that senior year, but it was a learning experience, and I grew from it.
The love of Christ played a huge role for Preston. He could sense it all over.
You know, that you can see God's hand working through it from an early stage. The same friend who helped me come here and try out, we didn't go to church growing up. But a lot of times I would go with him after staying the night at his house to First Baptist Church in Paducah, Kentucky. So had some experience in Sunday school and Royal Ambassadors, which is like Boy Scouts for Christians. So that was very cool going through that. But then as I come to university, I was really put off by the approach that people here would take on. It was a very in-your-face type of thing, and the same people that I was probably put off by then, I love now. But I had some teammates that really just cared about me, and it wasn't trying to win anything. It was just trying to build a relationship. And I think that's so important anytime you're sharing your faith, building that relationship. And through that, it opened some doors, and one night I'd come back in and my heart was aching. I was missing something that I was constantly trying to fill with other things. And I said, man, I think I want to accept Christ. And in that night that I did.
Advancing in levels of competition, the speed will always increase.
That's night and day. You know, you go from on the high school field where even then you just want to go back and play it after you played in college because now you've adjusted. But in high school, it felt fast. It felt difficult. You know, there's always vulnerabilities, a lot more vulnerabilities on the field because, you know, your very best high school players are your college players now. Well, there's only 2 of those on every team for the most part. So you're finding all the weaknesses and approaching those. Where in college, you have to be much more cerebral. You know, the game's happening fast, but it's not just that guy can't play, I'm going to run at him. It's trying to figure out how to effectively manipulate opponents to get the best out of your team.
He played a position in college completely different than he did in high school.
No, in high school I was a forward and a midfielder. You know, I was a goal scorer, a creator, and I got to college and we played a little bit of a different system, but they moved me to center back. And we offside trapped, and I was really fast and had a teammate from high school, Joey Farmer, who was a stud here at Campbellsville as well. He was fast, and we would just invite teams to play over top of us and then run them down.
Coach had some opportunities to score on set pieces. You can see the relationship in the formation he runs today.
I scored a few headers. Yeah, I scored a few goals each year, but that was one of my things. We had a long throw in, had a few guys that could hit corners, and I love to attack the ball recklessly sometimes. Got hurt pretty bad a couple times, but just throwing yourself at the ball, for me, it was all about that commitment level. The guy who wants the ball the most in that box is going to get it. I wasn't the player that Connor was, very different player. I think Connor has grown into such a stud right now. But the way I played fit who we were at that time.
Every athlete has a favorite play or play style. Preston's was trapping.
You know, I really liked trapping because I got to recover. I got to run, you know, and not many people were going to outrun me. And, you know, as a defender, you learn to take angles. So if you have a little bit of pace and you can take the right angles, then you can do a job. I don't know that I could run the same system that we run here because I didn't have the same qualities that these players had. But I wasn't a great player in college. I was a good player that worked hard and was fully committed to everything that I did.
Every athlete has a favorite game or memory that will last a lifetime.
You know, there was a week, I think, that stands out to me. We played Union College and Bethel College, and at the time, both of those were powerhouses. I think they were both top 15 schools, and we had 4 or 5 really good players. And then a couple of decent players and a couple guys who probably didn't belong on a college field, and those teams were really good at affecting that. Well, we just stepped up those 2 games. It was within a week period, I remember, and we won both games, which was a big deal for us.
Playing your rival is something everyone will remember as well.
You know, that you'd say Georgetown, but it never felt that way. You know, they were a good team, and we just wanted to play every game. I remember some of the games we go into absolutely all-in wars. You know, you knew from the first minute to last you were going to have to do every little thing that you could. You couldn't rest for a second. And going to those was always an experience. You know, there were also some teams back then that were just well above our level. And those games, you know, you went and you're hoping to get a result, but it was a difficult thing. And I think that's one of the beauties of now, the way that the program is that I don't think there's ever a game we go into where we don't feel like we can win it. There's some teams that I think probably are a little bit better than us, but easily a game that we can win.
The conferences across the NAIA are always evolving.
Yeah, it was different. It's kind of some of the Appalachian Athletic Conference teams were there. Union College was in. Lambeth, that's no longer existing, was there. So it was just a different time. You know, we've grown and some have left and some have come back through. But when I was playing as a Mid-South Conference, played the conference tournament in Hopkinsville, Kentucky. It was a really good experience.
He played collegiately at Campbellsville, where he was a 4-year starter and a 2-time team captain. During his career, he received all Mid-South Conference team honors as a second-team selection and honorable mention. He was also an academic all-conference selection. Adam Preston began his coaching career with 2 years as an assistant coach at Campbellsville High School before joining the Campbellsville University staff in 2003.
You know, I didn't want to coach at all. For me, when you coach is when you can't play anymore. And that was the fat guy that sat on the side and yelled at everybody, and I just didn't want to do that. My dad coached Little League baseball, basketball, everything that you could think of. So I had experience with all that and knew I didn't want to do it. But after my college time had finished and I couldn't play anymore, it was like, how can I stay around the game? And that whole experience is a pretty interesting one. Don Bishop, who was athletic director here, great man, a great mentor of mine, his daughter, Robin Lawless, had a son, Luke Lawless, who was one of our first recruits here. But he was in high school. They'd moved back from Texas, and they just needed some help. And they asked a teammate of mine, Carson Webb, if he could come and coach. Carson, good friend of mine, said, hey, you want to come and help me out with this? You're not doing anything. He was playing still at the time. I was like, sure, you know, I can go out and kick a ball and play with him sometimes. That'll be fun. So I went out and did that first year. And then Carson moved on after that, and Robin asked if I'd stay on, and she made everything easy. She would keep up the scheduling, everything in line, and kind of freed me up to do a lot of the coaching. So it was a really great experience going through that.
This was one of many stepping stones in turning Preston into the coach he is today.
You know, like I said, my senior year in college, I was a believer in trying to lead from that perspective and failed miserably. You know, it's really hard because it was the same guys as the year before. I was trying to get convinced to do all the worldly things, and now I'm telling them I'm your leader from a Christian perspective, and it was doomed for failure. And we had a coaching change at that time. Coach Brownlee, who I came and played for, and really good man who really drew the best out of me, moved on, and they brought in a new coach, and it was difficult to make that transition because he wasn't there to help me navigate that. And that was hard. So now as a coach, I have that ability to revisit that leadership role. And, you know, I was just all in for it. It was like, if I'm going to get this wrong, I'm going to do it right, or do it wrong from the Christian perspective. So I really just leaned on my faith and allowed God to guide me in everything that was going on, and had such great support from Robin, and the kids really bought into what was going on, and Don was a presence all the time. So it was a really great experience then to grow in my faith and learn to be a Christian leader.
Any level of coaching comes with major responsibilities.
Yeah, I think Carson and I kind of took it on together. Like, neither one of us really knew how to be head coaches. Carson was very good at navigating that initially and kind of helped lead me. And I think a lot of the things I do as a coach are foundationally based on the things that he did. And I think he's coaching now in the Louisville area. He's moved around through a couple of schools. But that helps set the tone for me as far as how a coach should teach the game. But even working through that, you see these are the way you approach different kids. And for me, coaching is all about communication. I could have 8 different styles of communication on my team, and if I want to use that one style that doesn't reach the other 7, then it's not going to be functional. So we have to teach in all the different ways. And I think that really helps set the tone for that.
After a short 2-year stint with the Eagles, Preston was ready to spread his wings and become a Tiger.
Yeah, so I had no interest in, always an interest, but no realistic thought of taking the job as the head coach at Campbell's University. It's the alma mater, and I know they'd been through a bit of a hard time with the coaches that were here prior to me. And I watched them go through that recruiting process of finding somebody, but I was external to that. I was managing movie gallery at the time, trying to finish my degree here, and coaching the high school team. I'd also helped Luke Lawless try to adventure and find the right school for him. So I was seeing some of that process. And I think as they worked through, they couldn't find anybody that was the right fit. And again, you see the Lord's hands on it. I got a call saying, hey, we want you to apply for this job. For me, I'm like, why? I don't know what I'm doing. So I got brought in, and I do the interview, and it was like, okay, well, at one level, they liked what I had to say. They knew that I was going to base my coaching on my faith, and that was going to be an important thing. Campbell's University is such a special place in that regard. Why would you look at a 23-year-old who really doesn't have a lot of experience, but they trusted their beliefs, and they said, okay, let's see what this guy's about. Brought me in an interview with Rusty Hollingsworth, and that went well. And Don Bishop and a few others were in that interview. Then went and interviewed with Dr. Carter, and finally made a decision to bring me in. And the only way that happened is through the Lord, because I had no business doing this job. But He knew better than we all knew, and this has become a lifetime love for myself.
Coach Preston leaned on the Lord throughout this process.
Yeah, I didn't think there was any way I'd get the job. I was so solid in my faith, I wasn't really worried about it. At the time I was like, well, maybe I'll be a missionary. I'd been on a mission trip, and I found that to be an interesting thing, and was looking into becoming a journeyman. And so I was like, well, wherever you take me, God, I'm good with. And when this opened up, it was like, okay, I'll look into this, but just to humor them. And then as the door started to open, it started to become overwhelming almost. They could offer me $10 an hour, and I would have taken the job. Because just such a cool experience. And to coach college soccer, I was the guy that played NCAA basketball and football, and I love playing the game on PlayStation, but it was more about the recruiting and that fun aspect of it, seeing that job. So wow, I get this opportunity, and it was really cool. When the opportunity became available, it wasn't even a thought. Yeah, I'll take it, no problem.
Mindset is key. Switching your mindset from different coaching positions can be tough.
Yeah, it was tough. Even more than on the field, I think just going through the administrative aspect of it. A lot of people come from different backgrounds where they've had that, and coming in and having to figure out how to set up travel, how to purchase for the team, all those things. And Abby Whitley was our women's coach at the time, and can't say enough about how much she helped me through those initial stages. So that was very difficult. Then on the field, it's kind of funny because I think that first year I was completely arrogant. I'm the college coach at Campbell's University at 23 years old, and I thought I knew everything. And man, was I humbled in those first 2 years.
When getting control of an operation, you might see a few things that need to change.
When I came in, I think we had 1 returning player. So it was like from May until August, you need to find 25 kids to be on the team. So it had to be that way, I think. And again, the Lord's hand on it all the way through. And you can see Him just creating this journey, because there were some strong personalities on the previous team, and they all left. I would have really struggled as a young man and not knowing the game as well as I thought I did at that time, to kind of lead and guide some of those young people. They all cleared out. We had 1 returner, Leonardo Hermbrichner from Argentina, had played at Lindsey Wilson and transferred here, and he was just all about the experience and being part of it and helped me through all that. We brought in a new team, and then it was just kind of figuring it out together. The big stamp that I put on it was, we're going to live by faith. We're going to do things the right way, and if that means we lose, then we lose, but we're going to get that aspect right first. Now, about me, I'm super competitive, and I want to win every single game. That first year, we won 1 game.
Experience. Through the art of athletics, you find a lot of life lessons.
One thing that we talk about within the program is that I would do almost anything to play another game, 1 game. And in the moment, I don't think they realize the value of that. The opportunity that they have right now to be free from so many of the stresses of the world. We see it so much with COVID now, just the pressures that lay on everybody. To have the freedom to step on that field and compete at a really high level, I want them to understand that and value every game, every minute, every opportunity. And if we can somehow instill that in them and let them see a piece of that from the time they're freshmen, then they get the most out of this experience, because it's really easy to look back and say, I wish I'd have done more. And if you can give yourself the freedom from that by putting yourself completely in and having that whole experience, then what a gift to go back and say, I gave everything I had. There's nothing more I could have done. And my experience is of maximum value because of that.
The game of soccer has changed from when Preston played and now as a head coach.
I think the way I see it's very different. The game, it changes. It's always changing. There's an adaptation that happens year to year, and people try something different. I think that's true in all sports, and then it's solved, and it works in cycles like other things. But the way that we see it is completely different. If I had guys back from my initial teams, the way that we approach practices, our tactics would be, I think, probably mind-blowing for them, just the levels that we take it to. But it's always trying to simplify it and give an easy product to the kids that have to enact that plan. You know, I think that's the most difficult thing is getting everyone committed to that plan and then enacting it. And it's just simplifying the game, but it's a very different game these days.
The recruiting trail will also change. From the beginning years to now, one thing has stayed the same.
It's always about what's the right kid for our program and how do we get them here. We've worked really hard to build some communication networks and recruiting networks around the world, through the state. And then it's just trying to find the ones that are willing to come in and not just be good players, but being the right players. There's a few years back, we really got caught up in getting the absolute best player that we could have and had some really bad situations on the field, just attitude issues. And it was my competitive mindset that drove all of that. And I had to really step back and evaluate where I was in my faith and how I was leading the team. And I said, you know what, we don't have to win everything. And I wanted a national championship desperately. And God said, hey, step back. This isn't why you're here. I wasn't brought in because I was a good coach. That's not the reason that I got this job. It was because I needed to lead these men, and I needed to be a man of faith and a quality example for them and expose them to Christ. Every kid that comes to this program has to be exposed to Christ. And while that was going on, it was almost secondary at times because the desperation to win. I'm a board flipper when it comes to Monopoly, so you know that, like, just tune into it. So it's a different thing, finding the right kids, I think, the right personalities and getting that done correctly. The trails are the same. The kids that come out of those trails are different, I would say.
Coach has brought in a number of recruiting classes. Could there be a potential favorite?
There's a lot of kids that I see them in the current kids. So I'm going to give you a philosophical answer. My favorite team is my current team. And the reason that it's that, and that's not these guys, it's this year's team, and then next year my favorite team will be that. It's because I see past players in each of these kids. I see Alex Adams, John Kennedy's, Alex Ryan's leadership and guys, and I see the bar that's set for these kids to come up to. I see Camilo Mueller's quality, Daniel Paz's quality, Casey Clark's quality, and some of our wingers. And I see the bar that they've set for kids to get to. Gustavo Valicios' creativity. We have all these kids, Ross Lindsay, so many guys that have come through the program, and I see my past players in them. Chris Carey, who came in and from a very different background, and watching him succeed in life's been a great thing, but I see that these kids aren't just going to be about the time here. And so I would say that my favorite team is my current team because I see all those past guys. And it's funny, as we got to the national tournament, I got a text from Ross. In an interview that we had done, I talked about this could be one of our best teams ever. And he was part of that 2015 team that, was special. And he goes like, seriously, you don't believe these guys? Just having a good time with me. But I love those texts. I love hearing from former players. It happens all the time. And it allows me, again, to see those guys in this team.
Preston couldn't pick a favorite class, but maybe, just maybe, a favorite player.
I love so many of my guys. It wouldn't be fair to pick one out because I think each has created a different experience. My dad passed away before my son was born, and for that reason we named my son after my dad. But prior to that, there were several players that were like, oh, well, I'll just give them these names. I could mix they're guys that I truly love, truly love. And honestly, I have a place in my heart for all of them, but some guys that have really committed to the program and who we are, that honestly have helped change me as a person, as a coach, and I'm grateful for those guys.
He couldn't pick a player or a favorite class. Many kids have came in and bought into the process.
There's a lot of kids in those scenarios. Guillermo Fink, I think, in the year that we were special, he started off on our reserve team. We didn't have a lot of expectations for him, and by the end of the year, he was one of the best strikers in the country. He did a really great job with that. We've had kids come through that. Gonzalo Cepena, who was, for me, maybe the best goalkeeper in the country his senior year. He won a conference championship for us, played that final in the Mid-South Conference tournament, and we just didn't play well. And Gonzalo, by himself, took us to penalties and then won the shootout. And it's a rare thing for me to say that one kid did such a job, but he won that for us. And the team had been exceptional that year. So it happens a lot. I'd say Cholo Petit, not that he wasn't a great player, because the first day I saw him, I was like, this kid is one of the best players we've ever had on campus. But that kid was desperate to improve. He was the kid that you have to stop training so much. we'd have our sessions and he's spending 3 hours in the field earlier in the day. So you got to stop so your body will hold up. But that kid he was so tuned into the details and how those details could make him the next level of player and desperate. So watching him improve, although he was never a player that was like low level, it was like, wow, when you get a kid that's your best player, that's also your hardest worker, then special things can happen. And he was an exceptional player.
Adam Preston has been named the Mid-South Conference Coach of the Year 4 times in 2006, 2008, 2015, and 2016, and the 2016 NSCAA/NAI Region Coach of the Year.
They're flattering, I'd say. I've had exceptional assistant coach. Alex Adams is a really great coach and made me look good a lot. We had players who bought in, who lifted us up, and administration who said, okay, you guys are doing a job, let us help you with some financial support, some scholarship money. You know, all those people make that happen. I get to be a passenger in that, you know, kind of watch all the great things that they're doing. And it's been a real gift, but I don't take any of those as personal awards. It's the people around me that have made that happen.
Coach carried the Tigers to the program's first 2 NAIA tournaments in 2015 and 2016.
Again, it's the people around me and the kids really bought in. You know, there was a really interesting confluence of events as far as scholarship went. So we had several kids that were finishing their school year in December. So it helped our scholarship money go. No matter what you say, scholarship will drive success. That's not always the easiest thing to work out, but it did. So our scholarships presented almost double what we usually have. And that helped us have the depth that we need in that team. Second to that, there was just quality top to bottom. I think a lot of your teams that we've had here and across NAI, there's 1 or 2 weak spots on every team. You find it through study and research, and you know how to attack it. You build a plan to attack that weakness. We did not have a weak spot on the field. And then you have a leader like Gabriel DeFreitas on that team who just taught everybody how to be men. That kid would do anything to win games. And I think that set a real standard for who we were.
If you have been to Finley Stadium, there are a very few quiet soccer games. They have support from all over.
You know, first, Paul and Jan Hurt have been fantastic people. They come out, they bring the Scotland flag and wave it. I received a few emails from them during this year, and they just are so loving of our guys and help to make them feel welcome and supporters of several athletic programs here. Then our relationship with Robinson Creek has been fantastic. That started with a program where it was a adopt a team from a church. That's my home church, and I love those people dearly. This pandemic has made that difficult, but they love the team, and not because they love soccer, because for some of them they really could care less and it's not that exciting to them. Some of them have fallen in love with it through the process, but they truly care about the kids, and they care that these kids are being exposed to Christ, that they have that experience while they're here. And for that reason, they come and support them, and the relationship has been fantastic. A lot of those people come out and make a lot of noise, and Sean has been fantastic. He's one of the loudest ones over there. You hear him across, there's very few people I hear across the field. I hear Sean from across the field.
Preston and his wife, Brittany, have 2 kids, the oldest a daughter and the youngest a son.
Man, it's overwhelming. You know, the sacrifices my wife makes to make this happen, can't say enough about her. She calls herself a soccer widow during season, and now we're here, we're playing in the fall and in the spring. You know, field availability makes us train 8:30 at night. 8:30 to 10:30, we're on the field. I get home around 11 or 11:15, and that's not easy. But she's been committed to this process with me, and it wouldn't be possible without her. My daughter Avery is one of the most special people in the world. You know, that's your kid, but she's my buddy. You know, I'll be honest, we hang out so much, and she's not doing in-person school right now. I've loved being home with her and seeing that, and she would root for me at the national tournament, but she's like, well, I won't be sad if you guys lose because I get to see you sooner, you know? And then Will is my little buddy. You know, he's 2 now, about to be 3, and I think it's a credit to Brittany too, being home with him, because as I'm leaving the house this morning, he's got a climbing belt on. He's halfway up the outside of the stairs and grabbing the TV, trying to pull it over, saying it's the moon. The fact that he hasn't destroyed the whole house without me being there is an impressive thing, and a credit to her. But she's a special woman. You know, I remember her. I was a manager at Movie Gallery. I remember her walking in and seeing this beautiful girl. I hired her pretty quick, and I couldn't date her. This is my employee. So when I got the job here, that was the other benefit, is she's no longer my employee. So I convinced her to go on that. She's taken this journey with me and really done an excellent job of just enabling me. And it's been hard on her. I think coaches' wives don't get enough credit for the sacrifices they make, for how much they give up. But she's been special.